Alright, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to give you my full warm-up guide that I use to get ready to play ranked in Siege. Now, I've done a warm-up routine in the past, but it's kind of changed a little bit as time progressed. So this is what I currently do to warm up, and hopefully it'll help you guys to get better at playing ranked as well, because it'll get you all warm and ready to play. In making this video, I want it to be accessible for everyone who plays on different consoles and stuff like that, so I'm not going to use any kind of aim trainers or anything in this. I do sometimes warm up with aim trainers. If you want to see a video on how I use aim trainers to warm up, then be sure to comment down below and I'll make that. First thing that I like to do is to go into the shooting range, and there's a couple of things I like to do in the shooting range first before I go on to like warming up against actual people. What I first like to do is to go to the recoil lane, and then I'll simply just use whatever gun that I like to use the most, or you can use a one with the highest recoil. It's easier to control the lower recoil guns if you can control the higher recoil guns as well, but if you control the lower recoil guns and then you switch to a high one, then it's kind of going to mess you up a little bit because you're not going to be as ready for it. So I like to warm up with pretty high recoil guns, or guns that I like to use a lot. So I'll use Twitch F2 right now just to show you. And then what I like to do is to switch the target to the 20-meter mode, and then I simply will just do this a couple of times until I get like 3 consistent sprays. So I want 3 consistent sprays where nearly all of the bullets are in this first circle. So it's probably going to be a bit whiffy at first, but okay, so as you can see, there was quite a lot in the middle circle. There was a couple that were out of it, but for the most part it was pretty much in the center circle. That's kind of what you want. Okay, I was losing the recoil a bit there. So as you can see, that would not be a consistent sort of spray. So I would keep doing it until I get consistently. So I would say that's pretty consistent in the circle. There's only maybe one which is outside of it. Well, they're all kind of on the circle line, so you're not so much trying to be accurate with this, you're just trying to get it to be within the main circle, because you're not ever going to have pinpoint recoil accuracy. As long as you're hitting them, like realistically, anywhere from the circle and below it is going to be the body, so you're kind of still okay with that, but you want to try and get them in the circle as much as possible, just to have that bit of control over it. So once you've done this for a little bit, and you've got 3 consistent sprays within the circle, within the first little circle, then you can move on to the next thing. And the next thing that I like to do is to go into the next lane, which is the sort of the bot that's standing there. And for this, what I like to do is to simply move side to side while keeping my crosshair on the bot, like this. You don't want to be overcompensating. You don't want to be going like this where you're coming off of him, and you also don't want to be undercompensating where you're going like too slow for him. You want to make sure you're keeping it on the bot as center as possible. And you're not shooting for this. You're literally just like sitting in the same spot, like on the body. You're aiming at the same position, and you're just moving around. And as you can see, I'm moving forward and back as well as side to side, because these are all kind of movements that you're going to want to be doing in games as well. And also, as you can see, when I'm crouching, I'm like changing up my crosshair position to try and keep it in the same spot. You just want to keep it on the target as much as you can while moving around as much as possible. Add some leans into it as well, because when you lean, it moves your crosshair to the side. So if you want to keep it in the same spot, you're going to have to like lean and keep it on him. Just keep moving around like that for a little bit. I would do that for around 30 seconds. You don't have to do it for too long. And then finally what I like to do is to just control recoil while I'm moving side to side on him. Also add some crouches in as well. This is because you want to try and like be accurate with your movement and your aim while you're being like able to control recoil. So everybody can kind of stand still and control recoil on the bot. Like, that's not really that hard. But if you move side to side at the same time, you're also having to keep the target, like keep your aim on the target while you're controlling recoil, which makes it a little bit more tricky. So once you've done that for another 30 seconds, so you do 30 seconds while just aiming at him, and then 30 seconds while you're like shooting as well, you can move on to the next thing that I like to do. Okay, so the next thing that I like to do is some more recoil and tracking practice. And this is, you go into the next range, the aiming lane, and then you go on the options. I like to set it for 30 seconds just so it's not too long. Set it to the dummy, 125 health, and maximum targets 4 and sprint on. So a random distance as well, sorry I forgot to mention. But what I like to do here is I'll simply just track the bots as they're moving across, and like keep my aim on them while controlling recoil on them. So as you can see, I'm not trying to aim for headshots as well. That's one thing to note. You don't want to aim for headshots. You want to try and keep it as many in the body as you can, and just try and do this for the full time. Once you're like able to keep it on all the bots while they're moving and keep your recoil steady, then you can like pretty much go on to the next step. So once you've done that a couple of times, the next thing that I like to do is to go onto the big ball, and I put it for 30 seconds again. Keep the 4 targets. You don't want to have them moving, and leave it like this. I like to put the distance to near as well. This is just to warm up your speed a little bit, and for this I like to use the pistol because the guns have recoil and you don't want to be worrying about recoil. And then you simply just want to keep shooting at them all as fast as you can. This isn't so much about being precise, this is just about getting your hand moving fast. So you want to try and be as fast as possible. Like, it doesn't really matter too much if you're missing this, because you're not going for precision. This is not like an aim training routine, it's just an aim warm-up routine. You're going for fast movements to get your arm used to moving fast. So the final drill that I want to give you now in this video is to go into a deathmatch after you've done all the other stuff that I've talked about. And the first thing that you're going to want to try and work on is your recoil control and keeping your aim on people. So what I like to do first is to go around the map and just aim for bodies and try and control recoil on the bodies as I'm aiming, as I'm playing. And like, as I'm keeping my as I'm doing this though, I'm making sure that I'm like quick peeking things. I'm making sure that I'm keeping my movement on track as well. So you don't want to like tunnel vision on just working on one thing. You want to try and when you go into the deathmatch, you want to try and get everything on track as fast as you can. So as you can see, I'm aiming for bodies. Like if my aim's on the head, I'm moving it down onto the body if I can, and then I'm like making sure that I'm trying to aim for bodies and keep the recoil on track as well. So this is a little bit working on everything that we've individually worked on so far.
Dual kill. Double elimination.
As you can see as well, like if I see two enemies, I'm holding down my spray rather than like stopping. I'm like trying to control recoil the whole time by like keeping my spray held down and moving on to the next target. Once you've done this for a little bit and you feel confident in your abilities to keep your aim on people and like keep your aim on the body and keep your recoil in control, then you want to move on to the next thing, which is going for one taps. So in this bit, you want to literally just go around trying to one tap people. This is not something you would do in a game. You wouldn't just go around games trying to one tap people, but this is going to get your brain ready for aiming for heads, and it's going to get your mind sort of like your eyes ready at looking for where the head is, and then your like fingers are ready to move your aim to where the head is. And if you keep the sort of discipline to only go for one taps, it's just going to get you better at like focusing on where the head is and aiming for the head only. That was not a one tap, but you don't want to do what I just did there, where I sort of like went for the sort of spray. You want to keep trying to one tap only and making sure you're like focusing on that. You'll probably find that when you do this, you probably die a lot and like you won't get as many kills and you won't win the deathmatch. But this isn't about winning the deathmatch. This is literally about just getting your aim focused. Like, you should not be winning these deathmatches. If you are winning these deathmatches, you're probably doing something wrong. You're probably playing a little bit campy and a little bit like too try hard to win. Whereas you're not like gonna warm up for a game if you're trying to win the deathmatch, because you're just playing a different way. Like, anybody can just kind of hold down angles and get a win in the deathmatch. It's not going to mean that you're ready to play games. It's just going to mean that you're ready for holding angles. So you will find that you die a lot doing this, but it doesn't really matter. It's about trying to make sure you're comfortable aiming for heads. But anyways, once you've got all that done and you've done like both of the things that I've just talked about, then you want to sort of add them all in together. So you want to keep your spraying on track. You want to keep like your recoil control down. You want to aim for heads rather than aiming for bodies this time, and just trying to get as many kills as possible and trying to get in as many gunfights as you can in a quick succession. So this means that's like you're sprinting around the map. Again, this will mean that you die a lot because you're sprinting around where people are probably camping, but it's not about winning. It's about making sure you're ready to play a game. Is that another head? Okay, I guess that wasn't a head. But yeah, literally, like, now you're kind of adding everything we've worked on in one. So you're going around the map, you're aiming for heads, and you're trying to keep your movement on track. The main thing that I have to kind of stress as much as possible though is to try and make sure that you're taking as many fights as you can. Like, you don't want to be camping around trying to get like as little deaths as possible. You literally want to be just trying to get as many fights as you can and make sure your aim is on point. Because realistically, who cares if you win a deathmatch if you're gold in rank? It's all about trying to make sure that you're able to play ranked at as high as level as possible. Make sure as well that you're adding in stuff like crouching and stuff that you would actually do in games. So like when you're trying to make yourself a hard target to kill, you're still doing all that stuff as well. Anyways, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this warm-up routine and you're going to use this in your games, make sure you leave a like down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.